Yes. My first question is, can you explain what the pelvic floor is?
Yes.
And why it's so important for women at different stages of our lives?
Yes. So the pelvic floor muscles, they line all the pelvis and they have different functions. So you can think when you need to pee, when you go for a bowel, when you have intercourse, just for also stability of the spine, of the tailbone. These are all the muscles that work together to support you through that. And there's 14 muscles. And so it doesn't seem like it has so much in there, but there's a lot going on in there. And sadly, we always wait for something to not be working. So if we break it down for before pregnancy, if we break it down in themes, I would say focusing on awareness and function. So making sure that your pelvic floor is functional. By what I mean by that is, can I pee completely? Do I have urgency? Do I have constipation issues? Do I have hemorrhoids? Am I having chronic pelvic pain? Am I having pain with intercourse? Am I a high-performing athlete? Do I run a lot? All these things is going to have a pelvic floor impact. If we think about maternity and pregnancy, we think the body is changing. Is my body adapting through the changes? Is my core strong? Is my pelvic floor able to support my weight and my baby's weight? How is going to be the delivery? Do I have enough flexibility in my pelvic floor? If we talk about postpartum, then we can think, okay, my body has gone through a pregnancy and now a delivery, whether it's a C-section or it's a vaginal birth, both have a lot of impact on the pelvic floor. So now we're talking about the recovery. How are my muscles healing? And then if we talk about peri-menopause and menopause and postmenopausal, we talk about strength. Because as we age, we start losing more muscle mass. And when we start losing muscle mass, it's everywhere, including in your pelvic floor muscles. So things start working differently. And it's how do we maintain our pelvic floor health through the changes.
Yeah, I think it's like when she said that there are 14 muscles.
Yes.
I remember when I had one session with Jen, I was begging her. I was like, please, because like you'll be surprised the amount of like muscles you have there and what it can do. So I think it's very important. Like you don't have to wait for something to go wrong before you go. I was actually curious, so that's why I went. I was curious, like, what is it you do, Jen? I need to book an appointment. And then she had the reformers. Yeah, what's called like your abdominal muscles like do the work like without your hands. And I asked her, I was like, am I gonna die? Like, I was like, what's going on here? It's so difficult.
No, you did great. Having the reformer and doing Pilates has been such a great compliment because we talk about the pelvic floor and we think about these muscles, but so many things above the pelvis and below the pelvis also regulate your pelvic floor. So it was a way for me to have more of a holistic approach. So I get to really have fun on the machine because I get to test things and we had a lot of fun.
It's fun for her, but I told Jen, I was like, Jen, I actually want to snatch. So I want to come do the pelvic, because I mean, it works on like your abdominal.
Yes.
So it actually gives you that hourglass figure. So like, oh my God, it's a lot of work. And did I book another appointment?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but I need
Yes, because your hands are...
You told me your hand was something happened though, but like I haven't booked another one since then. Well, when I have the courage to, I will.
You should come back.
What are some common pelvic floor issues women experience before pregnancy, postpartum, during menopause, and how does it affect your daily life? You said something about urinary incontinence.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a big question, but I'll break it down. So before pregnancy, I see a lot of people that either they're struggling with IBS, endo, just chronic pelvic issues or chronic constipation, anything that's happening at the pelvis level will have an impact directly on your pelvic floor. So what we usually watch out for is urgency, like bladder urgency, meaning that if you have to plan your route around how many bathrooms are in your route, or if you have to pee before leaving the house all the time, that's one big thing we call bladder urgency. Some people even pee before they get to the washroom. So sometimes we call that the key to the door syndrome. So when they're about to get home, they get that big like stress and they're like, oh my God, I need to go. And then they'll have a little incident. I have people also pre-pregnancy that have just bladder leakage. Those people usually are maybe more higher athletes. So they do a lot of heavy weightlifting, or they have a very manual job. And so they're always lifting things, or maybe they're in construction, something like that. I have a lot of people pre-pregnancy that have pain with intercourse. So any type of pain, whether it's fear around intercourse as well, where the muscle just spasm, or any burning sensation with receptive intercourse.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that you say burning sensation, because usually when someone has a burning sensation, you would say the person has a UTI.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very important that you go to your doctor and do like all the regular assessment.
Yeah.
And sometimes the doctor could be quite dismissive, because they tell you, drinking a lot of water, your pee is just really concentrated.
Yeah.
You need to drink a lot of water, but sometimes it's quite, and that's something Shelley was saying too, like having like multiple opinions on an issue, right?
Yeah. And that brings me to someone actually that came in this week that went to her doctor, and she's pre-pregnancy and with a bladder prolapse. And she asked her family doctor to check her, and he totally dismissed her and said that, oh, that's normal. And when I checked her, there was actually a prolapse already happening. So it's important to always get a second opinion, for sure. During pregnancy, and there's also a lot of other issues, but I'll try to be, I know I'm conscious of time.
Listen to your gut feeling.
Yes.
You feel like something is not right.
Yes.
It's definitely not right. So you need to find the right fit for you.
Yeah. And for during pregnancy, we're talking about all the back pain, sciatica, ab separation, also the recovery postpartum. If it's a vaginal birth, sometimes there's some stitches, or if there was some interventions done, forceps, vacuum, episiotomy, all this will have an effect on the muscle, because if there's any kind of tear in the muscle, you can think it's like any other place in your body. The muscle will take its time to heal, hence it will affect its function. So if you know how it's supposed to function, and then something traumatic event like a vaginal delivery or even a C-section, a lot of people think that after C-section, oh, like I'm fine, my pelvic floor is fine. But actually you can have a lot of different symptoms pelvic floor related after a C-section. So that's also another thing to take care of as well. And then for menopausal, we're talking about the vaginal dryness. We're talking about also lack of sensation with pleasure as well. So I have a lot of women coming with just wanting to climax better. And just because of the lack of blood flow in the area, sometimes just working on your pelvic floor contractions definitely can help bring more blood flow and more strength to this area as well. And prolapse. So if you've had either multiple deliveries, or just honestly now the research shows that everybody has some kind of prolapse that is not symptomatic. So that's something to watch out for, because as we're aging and the muscle is thinning, all the symptoms will come back. And a lot of people come in like, I've never had any problems in my life, and now all of a sudden I hit this phase of my life and everything's changing and I don't know what's happening. So that's a very common thing.
But
that
you've
I've
always had it. You just needed something
exactly
to
trigger it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really good, Jen.
There's a lot more, but I'm trying to be concise.
I almost lost
time of
my train of thought.
Yeah.
But I know like a very big issue is like, correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong.
No.
But I think it's diastasis recti.
Yes.
So like when you have a baby and then your abdominal muscles come apart.
Yes.
Like due to pregnancy, how would you treat someone who's going through that?
Yes. So everybody gets, during the pregnancy at the third trimester, everyone gets the diastasis recti to a certain extent. Postpartum, you want to check multiple things. So yes, you want to check what's happening at the bottom, at the pelvic floor. How was the delivery? But also, how did they carry pregnant? Because if you carry very forward, or if you've had twins, or just sometimes from someone's posture and morphology, they will carry like if it's like a watermelon. So that will cause more stretch on the core muscles versus someone who carries a little bit more rounded and evenly. So that will affect the severity of the diastasis. So we will look at also your breathing, because during the pregnancy, your diaphragm is a little bit more limited due to the space the baby takes. Diaphragm is connected to core, so that's why we need to look at that. Mobility in the trunk as well, because if you're lacking support at the front, most of the time also at the back, you're lacking mobility and movement. So it's a really full body assessment, and pelvic floor is one component. And why we look at it is because there is a connection with your pelvic floor and your deep core muscles. But again, it's just one way to go check the diastasis. We are going to check the separation, how wide it is, and as well as the deepness of it. So you can have a very wide separation, but a fully functional muscle because it's very shallow, or you can have a very closed abdominal wall, but very deep. So when it's really deep, that means it's not very well healed. And then we will do a mix of core exercises, pelvic floor exercises, and mobility and breathing exercises as a starter. And then depending of their goals, if they want to go back to XYZ activity, then we'll kind of progress the exercises from that.
Yeah, that's amazing.